Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
Happy days.
Yes, indeed.
What took you so long?
You know, we believe that the scheme that we've come up with is really one of its kind. It needed us to firstly listen to what the shareholders were saying and ensure that we deliver on what the shareholders were saying. Because remember, then they had to vote on it at the AGM.
And approve.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So I want to be clear about what has happened here. So in terms of the structure of Barloworld, this BEE scheme, what percentage is going to black employees?
Okay. So if I can just sketch the scheme high level first.
Go. I'll come in and pop in my questions
Yes.
wherever I can.
So it's almost like two legs. One is the foundation, which holds a 3% directly into Barloworld Limited. Okay. Yes. And that is really because shareholders said they wanted a legacy, to leave a legacy.
Right.
And they wanted it to have longevity.
Right.
And for that, we created the foundation, yes, which
right.
has a free give of shares totaling 3%.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Got
And
you.
then the other side is what we're talking about today,
Right.
Khula Sizwe, which is the property company.
This is an external company.
It is an external company in the sense that what Barloworld has done, we identified properties, operating properties, except land, and we group those together and we're selling them to Khula Sizwe.
Okay.
And having sold them to Khula Sizwe goes out into the market to get the loan to buy
those properties.
Yes.
Let's value those properties first before we go in deeper.
Okay. The properties are valued at 2.9 billion.
2.9 billion rand.
Yes, yes. And they sold to Khula Sizwe at a discount of 5%. So there's already a give initially of 5% that we're taking off the 2.9. And we're saying for Khula Sizwe, they'll pay us about 2.79 billion. And then Khula Sizwe goes out to the market to find a loan. And with the backing of Barloworld, because Barloworld is taking a triple net lease for the 10. Mean? It means that it's a sale and leaseback, but in terms of the lease, even though Barloworld is a tenant, Barloworld will be looking after the properties itself.
Okay.
So Khula Sizwe will not have to pop up money to ensure that the property is maintained at the right level.
Okay. All right. So let's put Khula Sizwe into Barloworld. What percentage is that?
Khula Sizwe, I think in terms...
Is there any direct shareholding? Effectively, that's the question I'm asking.
No. Initially, there's no direct shareholding.
Okay.
So what's happening is, with the sale of the property, Khula Sizwe has three trusts. One, it has the employee trust, which is a 32% shareholding in Khula Sizwe.
Okay.
And then
so the workers of Barloworld who qualify for this transaction hold 32% in this trust?
In the Khula Sizwe.
In the Khula Sizwe,
yes. And then you've got the management trust, which holds 38%.
Okay.
And you've got the black public, which is 30%.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the employees and Khula Sizwe itself 70%, and then the black public outside 30%. Okay?
Exactly. So what happens in terms of your question, the shareholding into Barloworld? When Khula Sizwe pays off the loan and creates value, then it will start buying Barloworld shares. But the difference then is it will buy Barloworld shares unencumbered.
Right, which means what?
Which means
full rights.
Full rights, and there will be no loan to pay back. Because you know, with the volatility of the share price, if you still have a loan that you have to pay, and yet you have the shares, then you get a mismatch.
Absolutely.
And that's why they say shares are underwater.
Okay.
So we had to look at that and ensure that we're not going to get into that situation where we say the shares are underwater.
Absolutely. So we don't know the percentage what that will be when it comes to vest, and that will only be done after 5 years. Is that correct?
Okay, let me retract. Okay.
Go back.
Let's go back. So after 5 years, what's going to happen is we're likely to list Khula Sizwe on the BBBEE exchange.
Or one of those exchanges that
exactly,
does the shares.
Exactly. And that's to help people and create liquidity and tradability.
Okay.
But we really would like people to hold the shares for the 15 years of the scheme. At year 10, Barloworld will come and say, do I want these properties back? Do I want to lease them for a further 5 years? And depending on what happens there,
Yeah.
Let's say Barloworld says, I'm going to list them for a further 5 years.
Yeah.
So that happens at market rate, but on the 15th year,
Yeah.
you will have a sizable number of Barloworld shares
Yeah.
being held by Khula Sizwe.
Ah.
And when you say
And we don't know size
we don't
at
know
all.
the size at this
Okay.
point, because remember, it will depend on the value that's created,
Over
and
the-
we'll be using that value to
Yeah.
buy the shares.
God, I wish these things weren't so complicated.
Not so complicated, actually.
Let's talk funding. Let's talk funding.
Okay.
How much is Barloworld putting into funding the whole scheme first before we dig into which one is going where?
Okay, so there's different ways that Barloworld has really funded this. Remember I said, firstly, with the 2.9 valuation of the properties, which was a market valuation,
Yes.
there's 5% already that Barloworld discounts on day one.
Okay.
So there's about 143 million that's discounted.
Okay.
And then the property holdings company, Khula Sizwe,
Yeah.
goes out to market, gets a loan of 80%.
Yeah.
There's a 20% equity that's required
From Khula Sizwe.
from Khula Sizwe
Yeah.
and the three trusts.
Yeah.
Okay. So the black public will subscribe for 163 million worth of shares
In
Khula Sizwe. Yes.
Got you.
And that will flow to Barloworld.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
And then there is the
Is
management
that a
trust.
10 rand a share?
10 rand a share.
Right.
And the minimum subscription is 250 shares.
Okay.
So it's 2,500 rand.
Okay, so for the ordinary guy who's listening to us right now, what he needs to know, if he wants to buy shares in this scheme, he's got to fork out a 10 rand a share, however many shares he's able to buy.
With a minimum of 250 shares.
Gotcha.
Yes. So it can be one individual or they can club
Yeah.
so that they get to the amount that they want.
I'm
to
sure
get.
you'll be on the lookout for guys with too much money who will come in and try to buy all these shares all for themselves, right? Because there's some guys who are rich out there who could come and take all the shares.
You know, that's true that there are guys who are rich who take out the shares, but at its genesis, the legacy that we want to leave.
Exactly. You will guard against it.
Exactly. And it's that the poorest of the poor are enabled to own property into the foreseeable future.
Absolutely.
So what we're going to do a bottoms-up allocation. So we will first allocate at the lowest level, and then whatever is left will escalate up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to round up with a broader picture of what this means for Barloworld. Do you know what percentage right now is held by black shareholders in Barloworld?
Yes, currently we are 54% black owned.
Okay.
However,
which includes shareholdings of the PIC and...
I was going to say the mandated investments. So the
Yeah.
pure black shareholding is
Yeah.
32%.
Okay.
And then the other, to take us to 54, is mandated. So what we're doing now, we want to close that gap because we don't believe it's in the spirit of the legislation.
Yeah.
But also it's very risky because depending on what the PIC does or doesn't do, you know, that could go.
Absolutely. Final message. What message are you sending to your workers here? I've always said companies, and I was just saying it before you came in, that companies, as a rule, should give shares to their workers because they are their first shareholders anyway because they're in the business.
Yeah. So first, there's two. One is we really value our workers, and that's why we've given free shares to them, so they're not paying anything from the lower grades.
Yeah.
The second one, we're really encouraging the public to buy into the shares, and they can go into the Barloworld Khula Sizwe website to get all the details about buying the shares.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm going to apply for a job at Barloworld. Thank you. That's Tantaswa Fubu. She's the Group Executive Human Capital, Internal Audit and Transformation at Barloworld.